All right, how's it going, everybody? Give me 1 second as I get loaded and set up here. If you're joining me, I am streaming across 2 YouTube accounts, 1 Instagram, and 2 TikToks. So usually it's like taking a minute to like always get them all up, but eventually they're up. So let's hope this is the case here. So I'm waiting on 1 more. That's the one that always gives me a little bit of issue. But hopefully this comes up. How's everyone doing? Okay. Well, so far, not too good on 1 account. Hey everybody, so if you're joining me, I am live right now, just started a live across all my platforms, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, 2 TikTok accounts, 2 YouTube accounts. Wanted to do a live to do some Q&A, some encouragement, and just tell you guys about sort of the next steps that God is calling me towards. And hopefully that would give some clarification. I'm still doing lives, I'm still doing video posts. I'm still doing a lot of different things, but just want to give you guys an update. This is day 3 of a 4-part live, and I'm just trying to see how it goes. I want to see where God leads it, if the lives are doing okay. I know a lot of people, the timing doesn't work out, and then suddenly, like, if you're following me from like still videos, or rather like static videos, and then suddenly you go into like lives, that is a little bit of it's a little bit abrupt. So I want to at least try it, because a lot of people are trying to experiment with a little bit more authenticity, I guess, in front of people and just the engagement. So we'll see how that goes. So I'm going to, so one of my platforms is not working. So I see you guys on Instagram. I know Instagram has been a little less. Hey Gatsby, I'm gonna give a little bit of attention to the Instagram, because I just feel like there's been a little bit less engagement there. So, but let me load, I'm still loading up things, guys, so it's gonna take a little bit, but hopefully it won't be too long. Okay, so let me open up this. I can't see the chat. That's the problem. I can't see the chat. Ooh, that was a double echo. Hopefully that didn't hurt anybody. Okay, so I am going to, all right, let me see. Hello, Asacia, I think, Laura, Kotinang, Natalie, Andrea, Laura, Christine, Peter. Hello, everybody. Hey, if you're joining on Instagram, how's it going? I am just starting this live. I'm live across 3 different platforms, 5 different accounts. I'm going to give a small update on some things, and would really love your guys' support. If you're already seeing the little message up there, I am moving to Korea. I have been called there. The Lord has some plans for me, and I'm just trying to be obedient to that. And in the meantime, because I'm focusing full time into content creation and just building up this next phase in business, I'm asking humbly for your guys' support. And while I'm transitioning and while I try to retain my infrastructure, my staff, and all that, this is where I'm kindly asking for financial support. And so a lot of the detail is in that link above if you want to type it in, or I'm not sure if it's clickable, but it's also in the description. So I'm going to try to see one last time if I can get one of my lives to come up, which it's not. So let me just stop this and then restart it, and then hopefully it works. So give me 1 second here. So I'm going to open this, put the key in, and then hope for the best. Okay, if not, it's okay. So we can just do a quick live here. So the point here is I'm trying to engage across all the platforms, see how it goes. I'm also testing multi-platform Q&A and just engagement. But I did find that the other day when I did a TikTok only, live, it was a little bit more, there was a little bit more engagement. So it was more authentic and local. So I'm going to try to scan across the comments. So I think YouTube has been a little bit more engaging. So, and it's tough because I speak long on YouTube and on TikTok. And when I get to Instagram, it's just very short, so it's very hard to be engaging. So I'm just hoping that maybe it might change with doing some live. So, all right. Yes, thank you. Happy for you and pray for you to the next season. Yes, thank you so much. So, how's everyone doing? It's always just weird for me to get this up because in the back of my mind, I'm like, one of my TikTok accounts is not coming up. So let me just think for a second what might be the case. I may have to restart this maybe. Okay, let's see if I can do this. Okay, one more try. I'm going to end this live. I'm going to end it here. And then I'm going to restart it. Okay, so let's restart it one more time, guys. We are going to go one more time. And if it doesn't work, it's okay. We will just move forward. All right. And this is day 3 of a 4-part series that I'm doing on Instagram, 2 TikTok accounts, and 2 YouTube channels. As a just quick update for me, the Lord has called me to go back to Korea. And it's a little bit, I don't want to say like nerve-wracking, but it's just a change from just being in the US for a long time. And now I'm asking for support. I'm telling you guys some prayer requests, and hopefully as things move forward, it'll work out because God has a big plan for me there temporarily, at least for the next maybe few years. But I will be hopefully back and forth. The plan here is lots of different travel, a lot of different engagements, and I may open myself up to more engagements going into the future. So, okay, so this one account is not working. So I'm not quite sure what's going on. So, it might be okay. You know what? Let me do this. I'm going to do one more thing, guys. I'm going to just shut down the other TikTok, and then I'm going to just completely reopen it. Let's see what happens. My last shot. Hi, everybody. If you're joining, hello from West Coast. Hello from, let's see, praying for the best of you, your next stages of your life. Thank you so much. So I'm going to do one more thing. Okay, one more thing. And it's like a hit or miss. I don't know why it doesn't load. I've got to find a better way, I feel like. And hello on TikTok. Okay, yeah. How Rihanna is asking, can I ask how you knew the Lord was calling you to move there? I've been feeling in my spirit that it's time to move, but I don't know where the Lord wants me to be. Okay, yeah, I can answer that too. Let me try one more time to load this. I'm going to copy a couple of pieces of information, and then I'm going to try to start it up. Hopefully it works. If not, we will move forward. Okay, let's see if this works. Please, Lord. It's like a hit or a miss. I'm trying to do this like multiple, because there's 2 TikTok accounts. I'm using like a different method to try to broadcast on OBS, which is what I'm using, to 2 different TikTok accounts, and it's worked haphazardly. And if it doesn't work, it's okay. This is my last shot at it. We'll see if it works. Oh, it's working. Oh, it's working. Okay, good. Technical issues aside, we are good. Okay, so how's it going, everybody? So I'm doing a 4-day live series. This is day 3 out of 4. I'm trying to do it morning and evening, but I've been going through a learning curve on some of the software. I've never done it before. This is multi-platform. I'm on 2 TikTok accounts, 2 YouTube, 1 Instagram. I'm trying to go into the trend of just a little bit more authentic engagement. So I don't know how it's going to go. I've been doing a lot of just packaged, videos. Some are a little bit edited with, subtitles and just cuts. Others are just one shot. And so you guys have seen that. Instagram and one of my TikTok accounts is where I have the short videos. And then recently TikTok has been growing, the long form video, but YouTube also has that as well. So, and I have 2 different channels. One where I talk about like current events, news, and things like that. And then the other with my sort of bread and butter of encouragement. So, love you, Chris. Your voice is soothing. Thank you. Enjoy listening to you and your videos. Thank you so much. From Brazil, what will you be covering today? So I'm going to talk a little bit about, I have like 2 or 3 things prepared, but I think I'm going to just speak a little bit more towards calling and how to get assurance and just some of that, as well as, because I think we're in a season, a lot of us are in a season where you're doing something new, you're being moved to go somewhere, and you need assurance, and you need to ensure you are rooted so that you are ready to move forward, whatever it may be, whether it's a new thing or it's a continuation of something. So Rianne just asked how you know. Sorry, let me go back up. How you knew the Lord was calling you to move there. So yeah, I think that's good because it's personable. It explains things, and I can just be more transparent with you guys. So number 1, I have this link up here for those that are joining. I would love to be able to meet my goal by this week. I'm leaving by the end of this week, early next week. So it's like a 2-3 day transition. So it's givesendgo.com/chrisyoonyt. I have details there about what it will be used for, how it will help. But basically, I want to retain my team. I have a 2-member team that's helping me with content creation. I am called to full-time content creation and small business in the e-commerce and online space. I used to be in corporate since, a couple years ago. And in corporate, I was in big tech and I was also in consulting. But suddenly the Lord propelled me into social media, and I'm not a limelight kind of guy, but for some reason, the Lord allowed this to happen. So, it's a different story for another day, but I do want to mention about how I'm moving to Seoul, South Korea. So I'm a dual citizen of the US and of South Korea. So it's ironic because I have been excited about this next season in life, thinking that, with a lot of political transition, as well as just what's coming for the nation, for the church, especially in America, that there's going to be big things. But I realize that God also calls me to places of need, especially as I'm culturally familiar or just as I'm having an impact. I know a lot of people that are watching also, not only from America, but there are other English-speaking countries, like whether in Europe, like the UK or Australia, but also in Asia, like parts of, I think, like Malaysia, Indonesia, a lot of English-speaking countries. A lot of people from Korea as well are listening. And so for some reason, I don't want to make it sound like it's a pick and choose type of thing, like a flavor, but if you have a certain ethnic background and you have a certain, leaning, like I'm a male, like Korean person, so a lot of people are more receptive to be able to listen to that. And so that goes for anybody, right? If you're a certain ethnic race, a certain age, maybe you relate to a certain demographic a little bit better, and people feel more inclined to kind of move in that direction. So embrace it. It's not a bad thing. It's not a racist thing. It's not some, bad thing, a sexist thing or whatever it is. It's just what it is. So you have a sense of empathy and a connection to that. And I realize that a lot of people are of different, ethnic origins and different ages, but also there's a certain group that feel a little bit more indirectly connected to me. So that's why I'm going to be able to kind of cater a lot more in that direction. That doesn't change the English content or just what I'm talking about. It's just part of the transition. So to answer the question also, Rianne, that you had asked, this is on TikTok, that one of the things that kind of came to my mind over the years is, what happens if I move back to Korea and this and that. So it's always kind of been there, but it only took the last 3-4 months for it to really kind of sprout out. And as it kind of like came to formation, like the thought into like prayer, into like just, I don't want to say daydreaming, but just like imagining it would be like, that's when I started to get really serious and say, you know what, Lord, if this is what it is, just show me, give me some confirmation. And I don't want to say there's different ways that the Lord confirms, but one of the ways is the conviction, the peace in my heart, and just being able to have that desire to say, you know what, it's very, very good for me to go there, and it makes sense even logically. I don't know fully what's going to happen. I don't know that I'm going to, settle down. I don't know that I'm going to have, all these people in my life. I don't know any of that, but it's just that the direction is clear. It's there. I've been praying into it, and I had been fasting weekly. I had been like in a spiritual posture that said, you know what, I only want to do your will. I want to surrender to you, and please help me. Despite me being, broken, despite me being inadequate, I know you have the best plan for me, and that's what I want. And so as I have been leaning into that, there's been more confirmation, more peace, and as time passed, it just kind of got a little bit stronger. And then things kind of like got into, like when you have a direction and you're going somewhere, I said this earlier today in my other life, but the doors will just kind of self-open for you, even though it sounds daunting. Like like you can't get the right permissions, you can't get the right, authentication. You can't. Your resume doesn't seem that good, or people look at it like it's crazy, like you have opposition. Like if the Lord is leading you that way, even though it sounds crazy, like He will pave that way to get there. So even like a couple weeks ago, a lot of my residence card and just the passport stuff, all of that just like was renewed and finalized, and I got all of these working. Now I still have to go there and just make sure that things tick and tie when I arrive, but I've got all of my family documents are in order. All of my, all these things have like worked out for me. And so that's when I saw more confirmation. And then as I went there, I met people, I have family there, I have friends there. And so certain things just kind of come in line, even though it sounds crazy. And the other thing that's happening, even as I speak now, is this right here, where God's providing financial support. And again, I'm not saying like I'm like dirt poor or anything like that. I've done well for myself, but I'm also constantly bleeding right now. And I'm in an entrepreneurial state for which I'm okay with that, meaning that I'm investing in my employees. I'm investing in, education and technology and all this stuff. And by bleeding, I mean everybody, like when you're thinking about revenue and profit in any kind of business or any kind of life stage, like even college is like that too. You're investing into education. You don't have a profit yet, but the hope is that once you get a job, you will be able to move in that profitable direction. So that's kind of what it is now. Like there's a lot of a steep learning curve. There's me and my 2 employees like working it out, even in social media. Like my hope is, and again, I'm not trying to sound vain in this or like numbers oriented, but my hope is that I get a lot of viewers and YouTube pays me ad revenue more and more. Like the more views I get, it's very simple. Like for content creators, the more views you get, the more you can make money. If you do more sponsorships, then you get more money. And those ad placements, like when you hear like YouTubers talk about, oh, this video is sponsored by blah, blah, blah. My take is that I did that a few times last year, but I don't really want to go in that direction, especially on my encouragement channel. A lot of you guys are listening, from my car or from just in the back corner here. Like it's awkward when I just say something and then all of a sudden I'm like, oh, by the way, this video is sponsored by blah, blah, blah. It's just not, it's not it, right? So I'm leaving a lot of money on the table in that sense, like more than half. A lot of people don't know that the sponsorships and the companies are where a lot of the lucrative deals are at, just talking from a content creator perspective. But the point being that in lieu of that, I'm trying to be listener supported and self-sustaining, meaning my business, hopefully passive income or investments or whatever it is would be able to help that. But even then, it's uncertain because I keep having to pay things. My employees, I want to keep them on staff, but money doesn't come in. It's kind of up and down. Sometimes the views are good, sometimes the views are not that good, and stuff like that. And so again, I don't want to be numbers oriented, but that's just the reality of my kind of lifestyle. So the point I'm trying to say, going back to answering the question, is that there is confirmation, there is a direction. I feel like Apostle Paul, basically, like he's doing ministry. And again, I'm not saying like I'm an apostle or I'm like a preacher or a teacher, but part of my ministry is to encourage people in the social media space. And again, God in the Bible says, I'm doing a new thing. And it's weird. It was weird for me even 5 years ago to constantly be posting videos. Now I'm like used to it. And even 10 years ago, people were making fun of pastors that are posting on Facebook. And now like everybody's doing it. Ever since COVID, everybody's broadcasting their service, right? So the point is that there's a new thing happening. There's a new direction. Young people are rising up and they're taking online social media by storm. And this is what's just the new sort of norm. So you have a sense of community. You have a supplement to your walk. And I've done the same thing where even before I got online, I knew that somebody else that I was encouraged by, I was constantly listening to them. There was a season where I was just nonstop listening to people, but also reading the Bible, praying, and just listening to Christian music and just all this stuff, worship music, and it's helped me tremendously. So I know that this is part of what this is. This is part of what this life entails. So again, let me change something here. I'm just trying to change. I'm making sure the live chats are up. Sometimes I filter by top chat, so it doesn't, I think, show everything. But welcome everybody from Instagram, the 2 TikTok accounts, Chris Yoon and Chris Yoon Encouragement, and then also the 2 YouTube channels. So thank you for joining. So let me just take a sip of a drink. So hopefully that answers it a little bit more. But I'm in a stage, guys, where quite honestly, I have the direction, the conviction, the peace to go. But it's a little bit nerve-wracking too, in just the fleshly sense. Like I'm not sure what's going to happen. I'm putting myself out there. I know that there will be things that will, happen, whether roadblocks, difficulties. But at the same time, God's going to use it, and He's going to provide. And even now, I'm like floored by the amount of support I'm getting, not only financially, but just the positivity, the prayers, and just these things. And it's going to help in many ways. So my hope is that it helps many of you, because I'm not sitting here on my high horse or just, oh, look, I have all these, people watching me. I'm not sitting there like that. What I'm looking at is, man, I was on the other side too when I was listening to other people, and I was like really in need of direction, purpose, and calling, because I love to inspire and encourage people in moving in the right direction. So I'm not a pure Bible teacher. I'm not going to talk like specifically about some kind of theology and this and that. Like I don't even want to bring in schools of thought, but a lot of teachers and pastors do that well. But you guys know, as I speak, I'm giving some words of exhortation. I'm also sort of I have this watchman calling too. So I talk about the general like atmosphere, temperature, the spiritual temperature in the U.S., in the world, and as it relates to biblical end times, if you want to call it that. So that's kind of my deal here. So again, through all of this, it's going to be fine. God's going to provide. I'm not worried. I'm not concerned. I used to be very concerned even before YouTube, like where God's going to lead me. But now going through many cycles, you just got to push through it, just submit and allow Him to work. If certain things don't work out, God has closed that door. If certain things do work out, it's a hint or a sign that God could have opened that door, but you got to pray into it. And if it's the right door and it's not a distraction, then walk through it and you can get to where you've got to go. So I have, I'm very thankful for a lot of you guys. I know this live, I think there's many ways I can go about it. I could continue it on some regular interval. I was trying to just go all in, like morning, evening for the next few days, just to see how it goes, because I see so many people do it, and they've built up a core audience. And then you have concentric circles of like viewers. But one thing that I'm trying to feel out is how you guys, like the end value add and the goal that I want is to make sure that you guys are getting value and that you guys are being encouraged towards the Lord. It's not about me. It's not about what I say. It's like, man, I just look at every single viewer and I look and I say, man, I just pray that this person either comes to know the Lord. If you're on one extreme and you don't know the Lord, I've got a lot of people that just comment because of news, whether they're non-Christian, they're atheist, or they're more liberal, or they just have a different philosophy on things, all the way down to just very, similar to me, just hardcore desires to do the will of God, and you want to just pursue Him. You want to do His work, and so you just want fellow encouragement. Like you when you watch and hear, like you're at peace knowing that somebody else is doing it too, and you're not alone, right? And your immediate community may not know and understand the faith walk you have and how hungry or diligent you may be, because again, even if you go into a church, not everybody is on fire. Not everybody is going through a difficult situation the way you may be going through it, and not everybody is going to want to digest this type of thing. I always say the mere fact that people watch an entire video, like of mine, for example, like 8 minutes, or stay on this live, goes to show that many of you guys are hungry, and many of you guys want more for your life, and you want to do God's will for your life. So that's how I see it. I don't see it as, oh man, like I'm being boring, or I'm useless, or any of that stuff. I'm just like, man, you guys are there, and I remember what that was on the other side as a listener. And because I remember that, it gets me encouraged to continue going. So let me say this. A lot of you guys are sitting there too. You guys are watching me. You guys are in your like slump. You guys are kind of in the trenches. You're being incubated. Okay, you're being trained up. You're growing. And one day you're gonna explode and do things, whether it's like social media like this, or whether it's in your local community, whether it's a stewardship over something big or even small, however you want to quantify it. You are incubating, you are waiting, and you are in this learning, growing, hunger, like waiting on the Lord period. And this channel or this account, or wherever you're watching me from, this live, is just a small supplement to your growth and to the end goal of you breaking through, whether it's a breakout, whether it's a miracle, whether it's you getting to the next page. I know that, right? And so I'm not sitting here just like aimlessly trying to talk. Like I know many of you guys are watching here, and you are incubating, you are waiting, you are supplementing this, and you know you want more, and you will get that. It's just a matter of time. You are sitting there, you're changing, your character's growing, you're getting more courageous and resilient. You're removing and ridding yourself of, the filth, sinful old ways, patterns, and you are trying to just hone yourself in before you, in some sense, unleash yourself. And I know that. I see that that's part of you guys, because I see it in your comments, in your testimony, and just the way you guys interact. So that's where I was too when I watched other people, and whether it's social media and what you guys will do in your next stage, or it is the way you guys are going to operate into the future. That's what I want to say. So I got some very strong admirers here. Let me just double check something here. I'm trying to. My chat is not coming up on one of my channels, and I'm just trying to see what's going on here. So one of my YouTube, the chat is not coming up. So let me do this, guys. Give me 1 second. Oh, you know what? I know why. It's because, I'm so sorry, guys. Let me change something here. And this is a live. It's not awkward to have a different flow as I'm adjusting and tweaking. So I'm going to just get used to that. So let me do this. Let me click this, exit this. Now I can see the chat. Okay, awesome. All right, hey, I got some strong admirers, and by that I mean in a sarcastic way, because I know a lot of you guys have been with me for a very long time, the last 3-4 years, and especially the ones that are very anti-God, or very religious or pharisaical, and I pray for you guys, but at the same time, Jesus had that too. He was able to manage it very well. But let me just put somebody in timeout. Remember, hey, to you that is being very, very rude. I mean, I accept, or many of you guys that are that, be very mindful, right? I don't outright delete and ban people, but be very mindful. If you're going to come here and criticize and do things, be very mindful. Be very cautious, okay? And you guys know that the last 3-4 years I've been able to kind of tolerate you guys. So pray for you guys. Hopefully you guys come to know the Lord. Not a hate person. I just pray that you would really accept the Lord Jesus as your Savior. So again, this is for one of my channels where I talk about news, some current events, political commentary, and just very controversial things, even conspiracy type things. So I'm making some comments about that and answering questions about situations. So because of that, I have a lot of people that are on that side. So again, for the most part, like 90+% of you guys are, believers, I believe, or you are curious about the Lord. But there's a small select few that I hope that, they can come to know the Lord. So, okay. So again, you're going to get that, right? Remember, Jesus himself, as perfect as he was, had murder. Like if you saw my live yesterday, I talked about these assailants, these people on the opposite spectrums. You have strong admirers and you have strong haters. Jesus himself, again, I don't have strong assailants, right? Nobody wants to kill me, but you have haters. And Jesus had that too. He had constant thorns in his side. And that's just what happens once you get more exposure. So, and those are the ones that are like the monitoring spirits. They're always going to hover. They're always going to be there, and they're going to like make comments. But you just have to accept it, deal with it, and be mindful of how to interact in those situations. So, so that being said, you guys are welcome. You can listen. And I'm even thankful, like, how are you even listening to everything I say? Like, that's just crazy dedication. So in that instance, kudos to you guys. It's been crazy. I wouldn't want to listen to somebody for even a minute if they are speaking heretical things. And granted, that's like every single day for all my videos. Like some of my most dedicated fans are the haters. They like watch every single video the last 3-4 years. That's absolutely mind-blowing in that sense. But again, hopefully you guys can really come to know the Lord. Praying for you guys. So with that being said, let me go over here, guys. Let me just scroll up to see if there's some comments or any questions. So, okay. Again, what I want to say is that thank you guys for joining. Thank you guys for being here. I'm doing a 4-day live. Number one, I'm just trying to test what this live structure would look like because, people like the authentic kind of back and forth, the unpackaged sort of kind of feel to it, even though it may have some silence and awkwardness and all that stuff. That's okay. And I'm trying to like balance how to speak to certain platforms because I have all platforms right now. I'm like simultaneously going live on Instagram, 2 YouTube channels and 2 TikToks. And what I'm trying to do as I do that is to answer questions, Q&A, give some encouragement, and then also give you guys awareness of what my next sort of phase in life is. So the Lord, as I've said before, is calling me back to South Korea to live there for some time. It's like a complete move. And of course I have family and friends here. I can, always come back just temporarily to visit. But my new sort of home that I will be settling into will be over there. I have family also, extended family, other people there and friends. But because of that, and there's a lot happening behind the scenes, and the Lord is using me for various ministries and other stuff. But at the same time, I am going to go all in with content creation, with serving you guys, providing, encouraging videos, things like that, and then trying to see how I can take the direction and fine tune it, whether it's, some kind of more exclusive content or other things, more tailored things. I don't know. I know somebody brought up like one-on-one, counseling or one-on-one like talks. Not counseling. I don't want to. I'm not a like certified counselor or anything. Like one-on-one discussions and things like that. But that's just hard because then you have like hundreds of people wanting to have my time. So I don't know that I can go in that direction. But however this direction is going to go, I'm going to constantly try to put out content across all the platforms, and then also work on my entrepreneurial small business ventures. So focusing on how I can do kingdom value-adding work, or just being able to see how the small business side takes off. So I've been doing various ventures, various things. Some things working, some things don't work, but that's just how entrepreneurial things go. Don't expect going into, and this is coming from a corporate person. I had the privilege of interviewing, getting multiple job offers, and it was a struggle. It was its own testimony. I said that earlier today. But moving from that all the way to all of this uncertainty and being an entrepreneurial and small business, it's a whole nother like animal. You have to have a certain tenacity and outlook and to accept the uncertain. And if it doesn't go well and something folds, you put all that money investment into it, then it's just gone, right? So one of the things that I'm asking for is your help in givesendgo.com, not only for me and to help kind of for me, but also to invest more into the employees that I have. I have 2 employees that work for me, and they've worked for me for 2 years, a little bit over 2 years. So they help with like social media and all that stuff, but also for the business stuff that I've been trying to do. And I want to retain them. They're believers. They're very they're very good at what they do, and I'm used to them. So I want to be able to do that, but also hire somebody else as I try to grow certain parts of this content creation area. One of the things I really would like to do is have somebody like filter and read all the comments and then allow me to kind of engage in certain ones if it is pressing. So that's like one of the hopes, but of course I just can't respond to everything. I can't look at everything. I just get tons of DMs, tons of messages, and all the comments. It's just crazy across all the platforms. Now this is not some arrogant statement. It's just indicative of a person like me as they're steadily growing in content creation for anybody that's in the influencer type space. So that's that. And let's see. Let me just go back to some comments or some questions. Yeah, so Bonnie's asking, and I was scrolling up, will you be keeping up with all the crazy things happening here in the US when you move? A lot going on these days. Yes, I will be doing that. So in one of my channels, is this the channel of, yes, this is the current events and news type channel. So in one of the channels that I have, I speak a lot on the current times and just news and things like that, interpretation and just how to see it. One of the things is that I always say is that it's not what it appears. Your perception of reality is based on what you think but really there's more that goes on. I don't want to sound like a conspiracy person, but in some sense I am, because a lot of what people tell you and what the news says is very difficult. And so it's a common pattern going into the end times where people are going to tell you, like, do this, do that, believe this. This is, the Bible says like the Christ is here. This is the Christ. Oh, like go over here. There he is. There, over there. And people are just going to be deceived left and right about certain things. And that perception is what's going to help like divide the church. And so this is where I've been called on one hand to be like a watchman, to kind of digest and understand the other perspective. So meaning when the news agency says something about, hey, the person said this, that man is a heretic or a false this and that, but then really that person was just outright lying, and you have to kind of like filter through some of these things and discern it. So this is the type of stuff I talk about on this one channel. Now the other, bread and butter I've always had is basic just exhortation and encouragement. So this is from the very beginning. You guys know, if you guys have been here for like the 4 years, irrespective of the news coverings that I do, I always talk about, man, like I just have a heart for you guys moving to the next level and to be utilized, that it's in the best way that God has for you. Whatever God has for you is for you, and I'm just trying to help foster that by giving you personal testimony, observations, the way I think, and all of that stuff. So it's not a pure like sermon or pastoral teaching, but it's like a different sort of like it's like an encourager type of thing. So that's why I have the Chris Yoonyt encouragement channel, which has helped a lot. So so Chloe's asking about breakup advice. As a Christian, I'm wanting to go back to my ex, but how do I know if it's God's will? So I will talk about God's will in general. I am, I have done some videos on, relationships and dating and all that, but I don't feel as called to constantly talk about that, even though I have even personal experience, or I feel like I have enough to understand and even do a separate, channel or whatnot about it. But I will tell you a couple of things that's basically more of God's will. So the one thing that one of the 2 or 3 things that I always go back to is the peace of God with you for anything, God's will. If you believe that this breakup was temporary, and again, I'm not saying that every breakup ends in an actual breakup, and I'm not trying to give false hope, but even though something happens where it's a closed off door, whether it's a rejection from a company in your first, outreach to them, your resume didn't pass, or you go up to let's say you're trying to get citizenship or something like that, and somebody, the immigration officer rejects you or something like that. All of those first step things doesn't necessarily mean that it is the end goal, because again, there's so much going on behind the scenes, and there's different chances in the future. And again, it's not a false hope thing, but if you have the peace of God, and even though something doesn't look right, I've heard of relationships where people said, I just have this deep down peace that person is for me, and that person is going to be my wife or a husband or whatever it is. And even though that person has rejected them, and again, I'm not saying you got to be like, don't be a weird, creepy person. Like, don't go up and just say, hey, God told me like you're, like going to be my, like, don't do that kind of stuff. But if it's there, then just let it go, step back. And if God is going to allow certain things to work out in due course, then it will work out. So again, I'm not trying to give false hope to Chloe or anyone's situation, but anything that you look at, don't look at it. And of course, there is circumstantial evidence of certain things. Like if a door is closed and like they're literally saying, get out of my life, like maybe you should take that as a hint, like just stop doing anything that's weird or illegal. But if you're sitting there and you're like, man, like there's a temporary setback, there's something that is, if you want to even bring up a distraction by Satan or something that's not good, then, and deep down there's that peace, then maybe let it go, pray, surrender to the Lord, and see how it turns out as God either changes the circumstance, their heart, or something else. And if it's for you, it will come back around to you. So there's that. And then I just mentioned, but the circumstantial stuff, it's always like there's always windows, there's always opportunities, there's always something that is just going to naturally work out in the natural realm, I guess, if you want to say it that way. So that will always work out for you. So if that person is not dating somebody, they're not getting married, circumstantially, that's an open door, possibly. If they're already moving on, they moved across the world, and they're, like starting to, like they're engaged to somebody, that circumstantially may indicate that, I don't think it's going to, probably work out in that sense. So don't hold on to false hope in that sense. So just going back to God's will always occur if you surrender to it, and you want the best for you, and you walk in his steps. And to walk in his steps means letting go, but also seizing the timing, the moment, and acting accordingly in courage and in boldness. So God's will always occur. It's just that, do you want to be outside of it or do you want to be inside of it? And as you're praying and leaning into him and seeking and putting him first and foremost, like you're so satisfied in him and nothing else matters, then God will give you more and more of the insight and the direction. So one of the big things for anybody listening and just wanting to know God's will, like you have to just like be content in him. Like everything happens, like it's easier for things to come to fruition when you are content in him. So if you're sitting there and like you don't have a care in the world of anything else except the Lord, then God will start giving you things like just as a side bonus, like as kind of like a supplementary reward. And that's when it truly like is that shift. There's like a true shift that happens there. But if you're always desiring after, and this sounds ironic, but if you're desiring after God's will, like I want to know what it is. Like I want to know what the next path is. I want to know if the answer is correct. Like if it's this guy or that guy, then in some sense it's still idolizing the answer or the actual like thing outside of God. But if you're desiring him, then it's like a supplement that you get the answer. Like it's like just a bonus that you get the answer. So that's where God will always delay things. he will put like some time between it, or he will just outright not give it to you and give you something like different for the time being temporarily before he gives you something else or the true thing that is for you, because he's waiting on you to, put him first. So I'm not saying that you're not putting him first, Chloe, but just in that sense, there's that aspect. So, I think I've spoken a little bit about that. There's a lot of detail, specifically for circumstances, but I'll just leave it at that for now. So, let me just go up and see other things. Claire, thank you watching this at work. Thank you for sharing the word. And let me go over here. Let me just make sure this. So I'm across 2 TikToks, 1 Instagram, and 2 YouTube channels. Testing this day 3 out of 4, and just wanted to do some Q&A, encouragement, and also just raise awareness for my campaign that I have right here, givesendgo.com/chrisyoonyt. I'm fundraising for a major move I have that the Lord is calling me back to Korea for. So I'm very listener supported. I'm not doing sponsorships. I'm a content creator, but I'm also trying to do my own like small business. So right now, unless YouTube has I get a lot of views, it's like in some sense from the content creator side, it's basically like view based. Like the more views I get, the more incremental income that I get basically from the content creator side. On the side, I can number 1 have a job, or number 2 I can do my own work, like entrepreneurial work. I moved away from corporate. I believe that God has called me away from corporate, even though it's a secure thing, and even though I have the credentials to get the next job in some sense, I don't feel called in that way. I want to be obedient to it, and I don't want to force something. I don't want to just backtrack and say, you know what, maybe I should just apply here and just take this job. I feel like temporarily, at least for now, things could change, but I don't feel called to go back into the corporate world. One of the reasons why is that when you are doing what I'm doing, especially when I'm talking about certain biblical controversial things, you have to have a position. And for companies these days, they have such a strong social media policy, NDAs and all this stuff, that you just can't do anything. You're very restricted. So because of that, I don't want to have this looming restriction over me constantly as I'm posting. So that's one of the big reasons why, if you're doing some, very neutral thing, it's fine in some sense, cooking or, some hobby thing. But because I speak on things that may be controversial, like speaking about Jesus itself or God or religion itself is controversial to get to the right person or to the depending on who you talk to. So even that is one thing. And yes, you have your protection to your right to, religious freedom. But at the same time, when you go into other things, especially controversial topics, then it just becomes a little bit messy and people are just out to get you. So that's the kind of thing that you've got to be able to balance in my position. So that's why I'm moving away from corporate, and also I just don't feel called in that direction. But secondly, I want to do more of the ministry, the business side, and just being able to build something to add tangible value. So I'm doing I don't want to say intangible value, but it's not something you can touch and feel. All of the social media is words and content to encourage people, and it's adding value. I also would at some point love to add value tangibly, like a product or a service that you can sell or that you can give. And it has to also be profitable, by the kingdom economics of God. You make money to add more money, and then you give money and all that stuff. So that is what I'm kind of working through now and hoping for into the future. So there's that. Always listen to that inner voice, the Holy Spirit. Yeah, the Holy Spirit of the inner voice, the peace. So that's good. So let's see. How my TikTok is saying certain things. There's so many things that goes on TikTok. I mean, I have no idea. Thank you for. I sound like a bot. Thank you for the roses. Thank you for whatever. There's all these things that come up on TikTok that I'm not quite familiar with, but it is happening, I guess. So thank you for that. And for others, let me read this. I'm trying to make it a point to read anything for which people have an in-chat donation. So Frankie says, yes, God allowed loved ones to be sick and past experiencing right now? Why God allowed loved ones to be? Oh, so it's a question. I looked at why as yes. So one of the things that is always a question for, and I'm not saying this of you, Frankie, as a new believer. I'm not saying this for you that you are a new believer, but for many believers, new believers or people that are getting into, learning about God is why does God allow, certain evil, maybe a general question, evil and just these things to come about? Why did he allow that? Because we live in a world where, if God is really loving, he wouldn't allow that. Oh, that's the logical thinking you would kind of have. And what you've got to, realize is that God allowed initially with Adam and Eve and in the world, the earth that he created, for no sin to be there. But because he also allowed free will and he allowed us to make choices and all of this stuff, it gave room for sin to enter, especially if there was somebody that initially is going to introduce that, which was the serpent, Satan, the fallen angels, Lucifer. And because he introduced that, and we live in this now sinful post-Adam world, and all of this happened before Christ came, but once Christ came, he was the redeeming factor, meaning that he paid it all, he redeemed sin, he allowed us to be reconciled back to the Lord. God, he still allowed us to have that choice, the free will, for us to live and do what we want, but our choice can be to come to him, to reconcile with him. But God isn't specifically allowing, the sin to be there, or he's not single-handedly creating the sin. It's just that it's allowed, permitted for now, but he's going to deal with it. He's going to deal with it in the sense of eternal damnation or judgment and all this stuff. But he is not the one to be blamed. It's just that sin is in the world and we have free will. God gave us a choice. If he wanted to, he could remove it. He could allow us to be healed and healthy and all that stuff, but that would remove free will because he's just forcing it on you. He's forcing the removal of sin. He's forcing you to be obedient. He's forcing you to live uprightly. And again, I'm not saying this that if sin isn't there, like in heaven, when we go to heaven, sin won't be there, but we still have free will and choice to be able to, navigate heaven and do things and worship him. Heaven is not going to be just some place where we all just bow down every single moment of the day. I think that we're going to have so much the beauty, the awe, and the wonder of everything good with that's redeemed even here on earth will be shown and seen there. But that's a different, take, I guess, a different topic. But God is still here. He loves us. He's not. He's sorrowful. He's mourning. He's not happy with the sin, but he's allowing it in some sense. He's not pleased, obviously, with sin. It's very detestable. It's a very opposite thing from him. But because we live in a fallen world, it's just what's happening right now. And the good news is that a lot of people, once they see it, they turn to the Lord because God is so far from and against sin that we draw ourselves to him because he doesn't want the sin and all that. So we misattribute it a lot. We misattribute how God isn't answering quote unquote prayer. He's not healing or doing certain things. We misattribute that, but really God's will is far bigger and greater. More, it's very, it's incomprehensible for us to understand that. So that's what I would say as just a word of encouragement is that lean into him and really seek genuinely answers, comfort, just being able to mourn through this period and to ask the Lord for next steps and how you can grow closer to him, because once you see the love of God and experience who he is, it's a whole new different ball game, no matter what happens. And again, it's very sad. I've had my father passed too, earlier on in my life in some sense. I mean, I guess it was 5 years ago, but it was a tough time. But again, everybody passes, everybody allows, life to go on. But in some sense, it's not God to be blamed, but he's using that for a reason. And he allows us to see him more clearly as we witness and see what sin is in the world. So it should motivate us to draw closer to him. and away from Satan and sin and all that stuff, fleshly stuff. So, yes, anybody in pain, need prayers. Okay, so yeah, this kind of view is very different. Like a lot of people don't and won't see it unless you really experience it or come to know Him. All of that. So let me go over here. Okay, let me go to this one. Yep, yeah, we live in a sinful world. Thank you, Lilia. So again, I'm across all three platforms, but 2 YouTube, 2 TikTok, and 1 Instagram. My third day, a 4-day live. I'm trying to just see how it goes. But one of the things that I'm trying to do is raise awareness for a life-changing event that's happening for me. I'm moving back to South Korea. If you click on this link, or it's on the description below, givesendgo.com/chrisyoonyt. There's a bit of a blurb there in terms of what I'm asking for, but basically just financial help as I transition and as I try to stabilize going into the rest of this year so that I can focus a lot on content creation. The Christian radio stations, I don't know if they do this now, but this is what I remember from when I was like in high school and stuff. As I was driving and listening, they would always play once a year or once a season a call for help, like a donations, like they're listener supported. They don't take sponsorships, and people come and they give. And so to be able to be open to that and allow people to freely give, because people have the capacity, people have the means, people have the willingness and the desire. And I always get these messages too. And it used to be where I'm like, it's kind of awkward and weird. Like I'd rather just work and rely on myself. But as I've seen how the Lord works in the mutual edification of the body of Christ and the economics of God, it's just when blood is flowing from one to the other in the body, you have to let it flow, right? And so as much as I hope to give a lot one day, in order to do that, I don't want to block off people, are giving to me and willing, and I block it off and say, don't come here, don't come here. So that's like blocking blood that's coming into you. So the same happens with churches, with tithing. Same happens with, even a lot of the wealthy, right? The political stuff where, people are fundraising. There's seed money in businesses. So there's so many things. Even though you may have the money, there's just a cash flow things. There's a deeper thing behind that than just assuming somebody's okay and well off. So there's always like a whole flow to that. So anyway, yeah, the radio stations do that all the time. So again, it's just one of those where I've opted not to do. And again, I'm not big where I'm getting all this YouTube ad money, which is the primary source of content creation income for me at least. But there's other avenues that I'm opting not to do, which is like sponsorships. That's the big one. You get a advert, when you watch a YouTube video, it's like this video is sponsored by blah, blah, blah. And there's like 30 seconds of this like random ad. They get, some money depending on the views and the influence they have. They'll get some money, and a lot of that often is like half, give or take, of their total income that they receive as a influencer or as a content creator. So again, this whole thing about money, I know sometimes it's a weird thing to ask, but off and on, and just like for these 4 days of live, this is why I'm doing it. I'm trying to see how it goes. So it's a threefold approach, just giving personal encouragement, raising awareness for fundraising, and also just doing some Q&A and some interaction. So okay, so that's good. So let me see. Let me go up to see if there are some things I want to address across all of my accounts. Oh, TikTok is very difficult for me. If you're idle for like an hour, they like shut it down until you like solve puzzles and like all these things, making sure that you're there. So I'm constantly like doing these puzzles like once an hour. I saw this the other day, so I can stay alive and it doesn't shut down. So I think there's like an hour max you have being idle before it shuts you down. So so Vanna, before, I don't know if you're still here, Vanna, but is asking, I'm dealing with hopelessness and I really need the peace of God. What advice do you have? So it just makes me think about a time where I was so restless and I was hopeless. So there's a season of my life, many years ago where I was going through like a relational issue. And without going into too much detail, it was like me and this other person, we were just like going back and forth with, just a lot of struggle, like miscommunicating, not being able to like, and it was somebody I was getting to know, and we were both getting to know each other of the opposite gender. And it was tough because we were trying to make certain things work, but it wasn't working, and we ended up just like cutting contact. And that part of my life was very difficult for me because I was thinking, man, like if this didn't work out, like what would work out? And I was like feeling anxious. I was feeling restless. I was thinking, man, like, am I ever gonna, find somebody, or am I ever gonna have like a good, mutual relationship with somebody? Am I ever going to be on the same page with somebody? And so I was dealing with a lot of that kind of hopelessness from a relational perspective. And during that time, what happened was that through all of that, God was teaching me, like, look how much you try to make things work and love on somebody and to allow this to work only for them to reject you and not accept it. Look at how it is for you and me. Like, you think you're trying to make certain things work, and I've been pouring out into your life and loving you, and this is the Lord, like, giving me the conviction. And as I'm doing that for you, Chris, like, you can see how much of a brokenness there is. And so through that, I realized that, man, like, I just need to understand what the love of God is, because I tried to, with the brokenness that both of us had, like, make it work, but it wasn't working, and there was a rejection. And when that rejection happened, I realized, like, I am, for the lack of a strong word, with the Lord, I was prostituting myself with the Lord by having idols in my life, for having other priorities in my life. And when I was learning that was something that the Lord was teaching me in that season of being hopeless, where He turned it around. And I was able to, like, fully seek Him, to have the love, the connection, the peace of God that I have. And so I guess the advice, or the short end of this, is that maybe, and again, I don't want to ask more detailed questions for your situation, Vanna, but what is it that the Lord is trying to get you to learn and to understand about His relationship with you and your love with Him? Because if He's showing you certain things and it's manifesting in a certain feeling, like hopelessness, the lack of peace, or the anxiety, or something like that, that is not of the Lord, and maybe it's indicative of something deeper, and it's showing you and revealing something of either relationships in your life, not only of the opposite gender, but just family or friends or whatever, or something that's in your life that's a distraction or an idol or something like that, or you being in a certain situation that you shouldn't be in, or your outlook on life that needs to be adjusted, tweaked, or corrected so that you have the hope. So if there's a hopelessness, if there's a lack of peace, then the answer is to be able to turn to Him, to trust the Lord, to have hope and love in Him, and that process takes some time. So because you're uncomfortable with that and having that lack, then the natural question that a lot of people should be having, which isn't redeemed often enough, is to find out that answer to what it means to attain peace, what it means to have hope. And as that step progresses, you'll get to know more of Him. You'll get to see Him. You get to learn these deep life lessons, like literally like what it means to have this relationship with Him, to go all in for Him. So all these things that are happening to many of us, if you're going through a hardship, a character thing, or like Vanna's case with hopelessness or anxiety or a lack of peace, all this stuff, there's something that God is trying to show and teach you. And if you turn it around for good and for growth, character growth, then He'll really take that to the next level and answer that prayer. Like, Lord, I want peace, I want hope. And He'll answer that prayer through a series of things, whether it's, in your own quiet time, in your own stillness and peace, or He's showing you certain things in life, and you can recognize and learn the lessons as you're moving forward. So it's There's a lot there, but that's one of the ways that I'm looking at that, as I see that question. So, and not sure if you're, still here, Vanna, but I know I was scrolling up for the, for that, and I can't ever tell who's in this TikTok live. So it's like, let me just see. Oh, you're still here? Oh, Vanna, thank you. You're still here? Okay, perfect. I'm glad. Because I was like scrolling up. So, yeah, I mean, it's a journey. It's a process now. And so many people, and that's why I like doing the encouragement videos, because people are constantly going through like a mental, and again, I'm not saying this in a bad way, like some kind of like a character or something in the mental space, like a psychological space, whether it's like hopelessness, lack of love, lack of peace, some kind of anxiety, worry, like looking towards the future, like love, like this like lack in your heart. Like those are the mental things that people are going through. It's not necessarily, and yes, for some people it is, but it's not necessarily like a drug addiction or something like physical that's manifesting. A lot of it has very mental implications. Like you're sitting there and you don't feel satisfied. Like you don't feel like this is life that should be for you. There's something else. And so going through the mental stuff has been one point of, especially with some of my content, but also as the body of Christ is trying to figure out certain things, like answers to prayer or your perspective on something, like theological stuff. Like all of this stuff is where a lot of believers are trying to figure stuff out. Like, yeah, being unsatisfied. Like, it's just something is off about like what you're doing. Like, there's got to be something more. And to the degree that you already know Christ, you already are a believer, but there's like some like deeper next level thing, and you're just like trying to figure that stuff out. And this is where it's tough for a lot of believers, and it's beyond like just the surface level gospel message. And again, I'm not belittling or watering down the gospel message, but that stuff, like, but it's just this next level stuff, like this mental stuff, like just like navigate, like, there's something more, you need peace and all that, but there's something else there that you're trying to figure out. And this is where God is bringing us to this next level of heightened spirituality, of being a believer and all that stuff. So again, hopefully that helps in some way, but let me look over here at YouTube. I think I just passed over YouTube for a while, so yeah, whenever I pray, Martin, at least me personally, I genuinely feel like I'm refreshed and amazed. So yeah, I think that's one of the biggest things. Like even in the last 3-4 months for me, I've gone to like structured prayer meetings. I've just been able to just get up early every day to just like not miss a day, until I went to Korea and back, and just it kind of, it's just been a hectic week in some sense. But even in that time, like there's a lot when you sit before the Lord in stillness and just like genuinely like silencing everything and just surrendering and praying. There's something there, and there's a reason like Christ himself went out, prayed all night, or spent 40 days just alone in solitude. When you really want to tune in and listen, like the Lord can speak. He can give you comfort, cleanse you, give you answers. He can speak to you. And so there's something there that I would encourage people to do. It's not a religious activity. It's not something where you're like, oh my gosh, I gotta pray. Like it's like something you can look forward to, just like how you spend time with your loved one on a date or at night when you're debriefing about your day with your significant other. There's a joy in that. So if you're able to understand that and see it, then it goes a long way. So thank you. I pray all goes well for you with your business and your return to Korea. May God bless you and keep you safe. Thank you. Okay, so I'm going to I've always promised to do this, so I want to do this now, where I'm going to go through some of the most recent comments on the Give, Send, Go, and just read through it, because a lot of people have been supportive. They've been there, and the least I can do is at least go through some of these comments. So I'm going to read it. Again, if you're joining recently, I'm doing a 4-day like live-a-thon, taking some Q&A, some encouragement, and then give awareness for my next phase in life, and just shamelessly plugging this in. givesendgo.com/chrisyoonyt. Just take a quick sip here. I'm trying to reach my goal, and I think that if, most, if not a lot of the listeners that I'm, reaching out to, if they're able to just give just a little bit, like even $5, $10, that will like rack up and it will help to reach that goal. So givesendgo.com. I'm moving to Korea. I have a new mission, and just the Lord is leading me in a different direction. Like not with regards to content, it'll still be the same because it's digital, it's global, but just with just other things that may be happening in my life. So with that being said, let me change this. Wow, I love it. This is working so well on vertical and horizontal. So I'm gonna go through until what it was earlier in the day, because I did a live a little bit earlier, so people will at least see that. God bless your mission, Chris. You guided me along my walk with the Lord. I listened to your videos over the last year, and they helped me get through the day. I lost my partner unexpectedly on 12/17/24, and your videos have helped me keep sane. So thank you, Kate. Hope says, may God's grace stay upon you. And there's no comment for some of these other ones, but Anonymous Giver says, God bless you in all of your endeavors. Let me just make sure that I can, okay, yep, I see it. Thank you for being obedient to God's call. You've been a blessing, and because it seems you're talking straight to me. Truly, God has raised you for such a time as this. I really want to have that feeling, guys, like to be able to, like, I know I can never meet all of you guys, and in heaven it's going to be great, but this is definitely an encouragement for me. Like, I want to be able to talk to you guys like I'm talking to any brother and sister, like in real life, like in front of them. So that's the part of the authenticity that I really want to portray, as opposed to like giving a sermon or something like that. So God bless you. I will keep you in my prayers. God bless you. Never stop with the Lord's word. Thank you. Thank you. God bless you, brother. Okay, so a lot of these, and again, I think this goes back to where I was earlier in the day. Actually, no, 7 hours ago. May God be with you, sir. God bless you and be with you as you do his work and his will. So I think I haven't read these ones. May you find the peace and new luck when you go to your new home, sir. Wishing you all the best, and thank you for being part of our beautiful YouTube community. Enjoy your new house, new dreams. Okay, thank you for that. I love it, but I'm a little bit hesitant on the luck. Nothing's luck. It's God's sovereignty, and also not a new house. So not going to buy a house or anything, but we'll see how things go. But new dreams, beautiful YouTube community. Thank you for that. I don't want to pick apart comments, but just wanted to at least make a comment about that. You have blessed me so much with your prophetic words. Bless you, brother, with love from the Netherlands. Thank you. God richly bless you on your new journey that he has called you to. Hope to have you back in the U.S. Yes, at some point. Definitely be back and forth, but in terms of living, we'll see how that goes. Thanks, brother, for the many times I found encouragement in your posts. Okay, so a lot of this is just words of encouragement for me, so thank you guys for that. But again, like I said, I am short of this goal, and again, if we reach the goal, hopefully I can increase it, but if you go through it, I just have, let me see if I can like change the view of it. I have a whole thing here you guys can read and just understand. I won't read it now, but there's a lot that I typed up here, but it's basically we're not anywhere near the goal yet. So I think apart from the lives, my videos do a lot better, where if I'm announcing in the videos, like it's helped, but this has only been like a couple days, so I'm still floored. Like I'm still very thankful, but still trying to hope for reaching the goal. So hopefully you guys can help. If not, no worries, no pressure. Not everybody has the means or can give, but there's a small select few, and they have the ability and the means, and just wanted to kind of kindly reach out and advocate for this shamelessly. And again, just like with what the radio stations, churches do just once a season, and in this season it's a big transition for me. Wanted to at least say this. So let's see. Any other little things, comments? I'm going to try to go live in the morning again. Okay, yesterday I said like 9:10, but it wasn't until 11. I was honestly going through some different things in the morning, so hopefully tomorrow, and tomorrow will be the last day. I may have something prepared in the morning or in the evening, one of the two. And then during the other times, I'll try to go through either Q&A or just specific circumstances. So with that being said, thank you guys for joining. I know one of my TikToks has been a little less active and the other one a little more. So thank you for that. Yes, it's in my bio, Danielle. So givesendgo.com/chrisyoonyt. It should be in both my TikTok bios. So, and then also in the YouTube link, and also on Instagram, it's in my profile. So, and let me see. Let me see if I want to answer any other things. Okay, let me go to Instagram. I've been sort of not not paying attention, but just it's been a little less active. I know the engagement is a little less there. Hello Pam, suffering Chris, going through too many things. Don't mean to be weird, but I really am going through. Suppose only God understands. Yes, God understands. Pam, thank you for being there for a long time. So you've really helped and supported many ways too. So I called you out the other day as well, but thank you so much. And then Love says, do you hear God's voice, or how do you hear God's voice, basically? Yeah, that's a big topic. I may address that like tomorrow, but a lot of it has to do with understanding the Word, being in stillness and in peace with Him, and just developing like a posture to really want to seek the Holy Spirit. And there's various ways people have confirmation in hearing, and whether it's audible, there's different ways and methods. So some people audibly can hear, other people, it's a still small voice. There's a confirmation in your spirit, in the peace behind it. There's various ways, but you got to also be careful of how Satan and the demonic can kind of come into that influence, and also your own flesh. But it's very difficult. But if you begin the journey to say, Lord, I really want to exercise hearing you, and you treat it like it's like a process, just like how you're working out your muscles at the gym. Like there's a way you can continue to kind of seek that, but really have to seek it and really want to understand it. I did that for certain giftings and certain things, and the Lord really, during a season in my fasting and prayer and just diligence, He was able to unlock certain things for me too. So again, just the short answer of all of that. Let's see, any other comments? Thank you for there's many comments in the chat for YouTube, but yeah, so thank you guys for that. So I'm going to end it here. Yes, no luck, all God. Yep, exactly. So thank you guys. I will be on tomorrow in the morning Central Time. I think hopefully 9 or 10, but we'll see. Depends on certain circumstances. The last couple days I went through technical issues, so it's getting more and more like smoothed out, but I think all in all it's getting better. So yeah, we'll see how this goes for lives, but again, just there's so much going on. So hopefully you guys can support, but at the very least subscribe. Like, I don't want to sound like a YouTuber, but so that we can get this out there for others. Hopefully it can be an encouragement to get people to the Lord. So all right, guys, love you guys. I'm going to slowly, one by one, turn these off, so you might see me just trying to do that. So God bless you guys. See you guys in the morning. All right. One by one, shutting everything down. One by one, shutting everything down.